Değerli konuklarımız, içinde bulunduğumuz dönemde dünyanın bana göre değil sadece hepimize göre en büyük sorunlarından bir tanesi iklim değişikliği. İklim değişikliği ülkeleri, insanları, canlıları, ekonomileri derinden sarsmakta. Geçtiğimiz gün sevgili Celal Toprak'ın organize ettiği bir toplantıda Tekirdağ Ticaret ve Sanayi Odası Başkanı çok enteresan bir cümle sarf etti. O da şu: Trakya bölgesinde daha önce 60-70 metrede çıkan sular artık 400 metrede çıkmaya başladı dedi. Bu inanılmaz bir alarm. Bugün aramızda birbirinden önemli, Denizli'de çok yakın bağlantılı iki ülkenin temsilcileri var. Bir tanesi Bangladeş'in İstanbul Başkonsolosu kardeşimiz Doktor Mohammad Monirul İslam ve diğeri de Sayın Doğan Hollanda Başkonsolosu. İkisi de denizle birebir ilişkili ve ikisi de denizin yükselmesinden en çok etkilenecek ülkelerden birisi olma özelliğini konuyorlar. Konumu içindeler. Örneğin birkaç metre denizin yükselmesi Bangladeş'te 30-40 milyon insanın evsiz, barksız, tarlasız, gıdasız kalmasına yol açabilecek en büyük tehlikelerden bir tanesi. İklim değişikliğiyle mücadele kişiden başlıyor ama ancak ve ancak devletler arası ilişki ve el birliğiyle önüne geçilebilecek bir sorun.
Çöpten çok büyük sıkıntı olan çöpten enerji elde ederek çöpü bir dert olmaktan ortadan kaldıran bir sistemi hayata geçirdiği için hak ediyor da yenilenebilir enerjiyi destekleme platformunun sözcülüğünü. Ben sözü sevgili Doruk Doğan'a bırakmak istiyorum ama öncelikle sevgili Davut Doğan'ın da başında bulunduğu holdingin çatısı altındaki Biotrend şirketinin yaklaşık 17-18 ilde gerçekleştirdiği hem çevreyi koruyan hem de enerji üreten, yenilenebilir enerji üreten projesini de keyifle dinleyeceğimizi ifade etmek isterim. Hem Hollanda'nın hem de Bangladeş'in iklim değişikliği ile ilgili sıkıntılarını da burada dinlemiş olacağız, bilgilendirilmiş olacağız. O anlamda önemli diye düşünüyorum.
It's a nice introduction, and you are quite right. The Netherlands, well, the name in itself is pointing at that. Our country is, let's say, our GDP, 2/3 of our GDP is earned below sea level, as we say, and so water management and climate adaptation is like my colleague from Bangladesh was stating so eloquently, is a very important topic for us, related with a number of topics that we as a densely populated country have to face. How to deal with natural resources, with scarce land. So all these topics, biodiversity, all these topics are coming together in our policies, and I tend to say that we are, as a government, but also our industry, is a bit advanced in this green kind of technologies, and it's not because we are better people, but it's just because we were facing these issues before and we had to adjust, and we're happy to share this kind of knowledge with others, as we do, as my dear colleague Mohammad Bey was saying, a lot with other Delta countries in the Delta Coalition and Delta Alliance. It's a very important topic for us. So we are, so we see the end at the light of the tunnel of the pandemic, luckily. And hopefully that will give us also a clearer look to what's happening outside of this tunnel, and I would say the real big crisis, or the potential big crisis, that is waiting for us if we are not tackling it on the right way. Climate change, biodiversity, how to deal with natural resources. So it's not without reason that those two topics are in the front of our policies, not only in the Netherlands, but locally also on the European level. Like Mr. Frans Timmermans, the first Vice President of the European Commission with his Green Deal, is very active in this domain. We can only do this together in Europe, in the world, but we have to act on these different levels. Sometimes you have to act globally, sometimes you have to act locally. What we learned in our country is fighting climate change, the energy transition, as was mentioned before, importance to change over to a non-fossil economy. It's having big impact for us. Think about a company like Royal Dutch Shell or the Port of Rotterdam. But we are on our way in this transition. We are investing heavily in wind and solar and geothermal. But at the same time, we know that this is not enough. So, and that will be my main message actually for today, that we see the transition towards a circular economy actually as the only efficient solution to tackle climate change. And especially for countries like the Netherlands, but also countries like Turkey, who are heavily dependent from energy imports and commodity imports. There's a lot of things to be gained there. But so we concluded an effective policy in the Netherlands towards the transition to a circular economy. We want to be fully circular in 2050 and already halfway in 2030. That means also a reduction, the influx of fossil fuels and other commodities with 50% in 2030. So that is a huge challenge. But even with all these effective policies, we all know that we also have to work on resiliency and climate adaptation. And I really have nothing much to add to what my Bangladeshi colleague was saying. We really have to bring together all the knowledge in the world on aspects like water management, heat stress, in Delta alliances, also working on the city-to-city level to make this happen. And huge investments are needed. For our country, it's doable. We learned that it's doable, but for many countries in the world, including Bangladesh, it's a bigger challenge. And we can only do this in working together. Investing in it, and investing in climate adaptation has often a long-term return. You're avoiding costs in the future. So you have to also adapt your business models, your ways of investment, looking different to this kind of aspects. So we, in fact, are talking about the energy transition, the transition to the circular economy, climate adaptation. It's a huge transition for the whole economy as a whole. It includes, as was said before, a very active role of the financial sector, looking different at business models. I was just trying to address the importance of the circular economy as an important element in our strategy on climate change. And I want to pick up exactly the words that Mr. Doğan was saying, the importance of dealing differently with waste, for example. The importance of what we call waste to energy. Great examples that you are mentioning that we also do in the Netherlands, connecting our greenhouse production to the port of Rotterdam and the industry to use the heat, but also the coal dioxide of the production in the greenhouses. Those kind of innovations add to the fact that actually we are the second biggest exporter of food worldwide. It's also given to this kind of technology, and the only way to feed the planet in the next decades is to exactly do what Mr. Doğan and his holding, his company is doing, to looking for that kind of innovation, even. And you mentioned that as well, beyond incineration, waste to energy, is the recycling, is it's the reuse, it's sometimes also the reduce. So to keep the value as high as possible, as we say, in the value hill. And that brings me exactly to the fact that what we're dealing about here is not environmental policy in an old style or old way. This is very much an economic model. Very happy because there is a lot of energy in this kind of approach. So the week of energy is for me is also very much this kind of energy, the energy that we find in society nowadays on the different levels, with industry, but also on the city level. So we invest as a consulate a lot also in the city-to-city relationship. Istanbul municipality working closely with Rotterdam and Amsterdam on these topics. Food production in and around the city, food waste, circular economy in a broader sense, smart and green mobility, the change over to e-mobility, different ways at looking at mobility. They are all crucial and essential in our cooperation. So yes, as we were saying before, this is a huge challenge and a huge crisis with climate, migrants, and things that I mentioned are luring. But at the same time, this generation, we are able to tackle it, and that makes me also very positive with all the energy of all the actors involved, and we are happy to be part of that ecosystem, so to say. Well, thank you. Also are contributing in financial terms in our program for international cooperation. Climate action is a very important topic. So in countries where we have a close cooperation with, we invest also as a government in this kind of projects. But also here exactly in Turkey, what we did together with EBRD, we used our trust fund with EBRD for 500,000 euros to invest in change over to the circular economy. So we made available vouchers for smaller companies down the value chain that want to make the first steps in the change over to the circular economy. They can, with this voucher, they can hire knowledge and equipment to make this first steps happening. Apart from that, we also invest in trainings. We did together with the Dutch organization called Circo, already 2 years ago, we did trainings in circular design and circular business model, and even a train the trainer program. So we feel also committed in that respect, not so much because of the fact that we're generous people, we are not, because there's a business model in it for us as well. For us, as I said, this is a global challenge, and we have to do this together. Talking about our relations with Turkey, we share the same value chain. Talking about textiles, other kind of products. So it's important for us that this changeover is made with all our partners in the value chain. If you really want to be also effective on the aspect of what I said, resource efficiency and to dealing with natural resources in the world, we only can do this on this way. So yes, as a government, we are investing in it, but also I would say even more important, our industry is investing in it a lot. Importance of waste collection. Actually, waste doesn't exist anymore. Waste as a commodity, and you need good legislation and regulation also on the city level. And you have to make the right incentives to make this this happen. So that is of utmost importance. We didn't do that overnight. In our Dutch cities, we had the situation also before that we were separating, and it was put together afterwards. But slowly, we reached to that system. that we collect waste and we treating waste in a good way, locally or sometimes also internationally. We have this great project going on, Dutch denim branch with Turkish producers in shipping secondary materials to Turkey to use it again for production of new denim, which will be brought on the market again. And we started also now to support the cities here to have the good collection of this denim and other textiles to use it as an input for production. The second thing that I want to mention is the importance of bringing knowledge together on climate. We do that also on climate adaptation together with Bangladesh and other countries. We set up the Global Center of Excellence on Climate Adaptation in Rotterdam. And earlier this year, this was this great conference, the CAS conference, where also Mayor Imamoglu took part in the mayor's forum. And here, as in many other issues, financing, investing on a good way is of most importance. We learned two things, and now we're close here. Two words of importance: integrality, integral building and design, and to combine different targets and objectives in an investment. If in the built environment, if you're making an investment, if you do a design, combine elements like energy efficiency, climate adaptation, earthquake resiliency, all these elements together. We did the same in Rotterdam, for example, also combined with measures against flooding and water storage. And if you combine this kind of targets in one investment, it makes it more feasible in economic terms. The second one is blending. The importance of bringing together different financiers, banks, international institutions, pension funds, to blend the kind of investments. And as I said before, when you talk about these huge challenges like climate adaptation, you have different forms of return. You invest in preventing costs in the future. And you have to look at financing and investments also from the government side on a different way, and blending is a very important element in it. And happy that EBRD and World Bank and others are also very active in this response. Thank you.
Çok teşekkür ederim Ahmet abi, katkıların için, desteklerin için. Güzel bir organizasyon oldu. Eğer iklim değişikliği, iklim kriziyle ilgili bir noktada küçük bir farkındalık da yarattıysak birlikte önemli bir şey yaptık diye düşünüyorum. Çünkü biliyorsunuz emanet bugünkü dünya bize. Emanetimizi iyi değerlendirmemiz lazım. Bu bağlamda 14 Haziran Pazartesi günü İzmir'de küresel ısınma kurultayımız var. Herkese bu kurultaya, hibrit bir kurultay, herkesi bu kurultayda buluşmak üzere diyorum ve herkese teşekkür ediyorum.